Hello and welcome to Held and Heard. This is a podcast for pregnant and postpartum mamas who want to feel more connected to their babies and more confident in themselves. Here, we talk about elimination communication and infant potty learning as a way of listening, not as something to add to your plate, but as a way to better understand what your baby has been communicating from the very beginning. This is a place where you learn to trust your baby and yourself. I'm your host, Heather Medlin, mother of 3, infant potty learning educator, and founder of Ready from Birth, where I guide postpartum mamas through every stage of early potty learning, from birth to toilet independence. Each week, I'll help you slow down, tune in, and discover just how aware and capable your baby already is, so you can meet them with confidence instead of doubt. Your baby is communicating, and you are capable of listening. Let's get started. Hello, beautiful mamas. Today, we are going to be talking all about what happens when you start to listen and respond to your baby's potty needs. Why would we do this? So many reasons. But today, instead of telling you what are the benefits, why you should potty your baby, and why elimination communication matters, let's just talk about what's going to happen. Because you might be wondering, is it really worth all the effort? Is this going to have fruit in the short term, or is this really just a long-term investment that I am doing now with my newborn so that I can have an easier potty training experience later? And yes, you are absolutely going to have an easier potty training experience later with your baby. But let's talk about what happens now, because I know from experience, having done this 3 times with my own babies, that in the short term, in that difficult, exhausting postpartum period, you are in survival mode. And the only thing that matters is when is your next nap and when is your next shower, and is the baby hungry and has the baby gone to sleep? And you're not worried about the long-term investment of the future, which is so far away and feels like a lifetime from now. So let's talk about what happens right now. I'm going to be sharing from both my own experience with my second and third babies and the stories that I have heard from countless women in my world, women who have done my Born Ready course, where I teach them exactly how to get started with elimination communication and carry it through their entire baby's first year and up to 18 months, all the way through to fully potty trained and out of diapers. Women who have started using my Born Ready method and have had incredible success with it. So I will be sharing some of their stories as well. But let's start with what happened when I started pottying my 2 babies, my second and third babies, from the newborn stage. So just for a little bit of context, I did learn about elimination communication when my oldest son, my firstborn, was about 15 months old. I had no idea it was even an option to potty him before then. And so when I learned about it, I was a little late to the party. Is it possible to start pottying your baby at 15 months or later? Yes, absolutely. But I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And by the time I figured out that this was an option and I started trying to do it, I had already spent the first 15 months of his life teaching him that poop goes in a diaper and that's what's supposed to happen. So he wasn't super receptive to the idea. And I didn't know enough then to know how to troubleshoot. So it wasn't until my daughter was born, my second child, and I really started paying attention to that I was able to start with her early. So I started pottying her at about 5 weeks old. And my third baby, I started pottying him within the first week of his life. So in both cases, I started with a newborn. And you might be thinking, but Heather, why on earth would I start doing this with a newborn? Isn't everything hard enough already? I'm just trying to feed my baby. I'm just trying to make sure that they can survive, that I survive. I just don't have the bandwidth to do this with a newborn. But I want you to just sit with me here for a minute and let me explain what happened. So with my daughter, the very first time I pottied her, I had just finished breastfeeding her. I knew about EC at this point. We had had a little bit of a rocky start. She almost died at birth, and she was in the NICU for a week. And I was recovering from an emergency C-section that I had had with her. So I hadn't really felt ready to start paying attention up until that point. So we're 5 weeks in. I just breastfed my baby, and I noticed that she started to get fussy. She started to get really irritable about 5 minutes after I finished feeding her. And I knew she wasn't hungry because I had just fed her. And I knew she wasn't tired because she had just woken up from a nap. That's why I was feeding her. And her diaper was dry. I had just put on a clean one after her nap. So, process of elimination, no pun intended, I thought, you know what? Maybe this is one of those patty cues that I read about. Maybe she needs to go. Let's find out. So I took her diaper off. I perched her on her older brother's little baby Bjorn toddler potty, and I held her very carefully. And lo and behold, she peed right away, like within 2 seconds of me putting her on there. And y'all, the relief was immediate. The release on her face, she full body relaxed. Like she went from fussing, super irritable, starting to cry, to as soon as she peed, her whole body just relaxed in my hands. Her face was just full of relief. Like she looked me in the eye and was just like, ah, you finally figured it out. So that was very encouraging to me. And I saw that happen and I was amazed. And I thought, wow, okay, that was kind of surprising and not really what I expected. Let's try this again and see what happens. So I tried again later that day. I noticed again that she was getting fussy and I put her on the potty. And this time she peed and pooped. Y'all, it was amazing. And so we were kind of hooked. And at that point, we had a decision to make because my husband was going back to work a week later. So he went back to work at 6 weeks postpartum. I was going to have to go back to work at 8 weeks postpartum, just 3 weeks later. And we did have an au pair who lived with us at the time. And so I knew that she was going to be in full-time care with our au pair. So we really only had about 3 weeks left of postpartum maternity leave to really be with her and establish a pattern and a routine. And so we decided, you know what? Let's just keep trying. Let's just keep trying and see what happens. And we're not going to put any pressure on ourselves. We're just going to keep doing this as long as it's working, as long as it's working for us. And if it stops working for us, we'll stop doing it. So we had 3 weeks to establish a routine. And here's what happened. Y'all, within days of me starting to potty her, she was expecting the offer. She knew that it was coming and she started to hold it. She started to wait for the offer. She started to pee and or poop almost every single time I offered, because let's be honest, newborns need to go all the time. Like they're busy little bladders. They are going all the time. So every time I took her diaper off, whether it was wet or not, if it was wet, I offered again just to make sure she was empty. And oftentimes she would go again. And if it was dry, which was many times, she would wait until I got her into position and cued her to go, and then she would pee. So what I noticed, and this happened with both my second child and my third child, and I have heard this from so many women who have also done this with their babies and have used my course or tried this on their own. They're writing to me and they're saying, Heather, my baby started to hold it and wait for the offer within days of me starting to offer consistently. Days, y'all. This is a newborn baby. The idea, the myth that babies have no control over their bowels or bladder until they're much older, like you name a number, people will literally come up with anything here. This idea that babies have no control is simply false, because I have seen it with my own eyes twice.
I have heard from many of you anecdotal stories of watching with your own eyes. When you start to potty your baby, even as a newborn, and this happened also with my newborn, my third baby, because I started even earlier with him, they pick up on what's happening almost immediately, and they will start to wait for the offer. Now, let's fast forward to my son, who I started pottying him from within the first week after birth. Again, I was recovering from a difficult birth. I had a VBAC after 2 C-sections, which was incredible by itself, but I ended up with a fourth-degree tear, which is no small joke, y'all. It literally took them longer to sew me up after a fourth-degree tear than it took for them to sew me up for my 2 C-sections that I had had previously. But I digress. I was in no shape to be jumping up pottying my baby after he was born. So I literally spent the first week just observing, just noticing his patterns, just noticing his body language after a feed or when he would pee and poop. And it wasn't until about a week in that I had just put him in my ring sling. I was about to go for a walk, my first walk postpartum. I had just fed him. He had shortly before woken up from a nap. And the same thing happened. He was totally calm in the ring sling. And then all of a sudden, he started to get fussy. He started to squirm. He showed irritability. And I thought, oh, he needs to go. And at this point, I had already done this for 2 years with my daughter. I'd been teaching this online for quite some time. I knew exactly what I was looking at. I knew he needed to go. So I took him out of the ring sling, took his diaper off, held him over the sink, and he immediately pees and poops in the sink. Again, full body relief. Looks at me, almost smiled. He's like a week old, and I swear his eyes smiled. And he looked at me and was just like, "Ah, you got it." And he already was holding it and waiting for the offer. And I had never even done this before on like responding to his actual in the moment cues. And so the irritation and the agitation and the squirminess was already building. And he obviously didn't just go as soon as he felt he needed to go, which is what would happen if it were true that babies truly have no control. The moment pressure started to build, they would just pee or poop. It would just come right out. But that's not what happened. He was already starting to hold it instinctively, and the agitation was building as his body was feeling that pressure of, oh, something's happening. I need to go. This is coming. And I was able to notice what was happening and respond and get him into a safe place to do this. Hold him over the sink. By the way, you can absolutely potty a newborn over the sink. That makes everything much easier because then you can just rinse it away with the warm water. You can rinse their booty with the warm water. They're still so small. It's very easy to hold them in one hand and splash water with the other hand. And breast milk poops, y'all, are so easy to clean up. They're not gross. They're not stinky. There's no solids yet. So yeah, totally feel free to do that. So I held him over the sink and he went right away. And he knew once I got him into the position, you kind of want to hold them in like an M shape with their booty down and their legs up. If you want to see a picture of this, like how this works, go ahead and download my free guide. I have that linked down below in the show notes. There are some pictures of different ways to potty your baby, depending on how old they are, how big they are, that you can see right there in that free guide. So go ahead and download that if you're not sure what I'm talking about. So I held him in position. I cued him to go and he went immediately. So already, very first time, no consistent pattern yet, he instinctively knew what to do, immediately was relieved. So in both cases, with both of these children, I started pottying them regularly. I would take them when I took their diaper off. If I was already changing a diaper, I would offer again. I would offer every time I got them out of the car after we had been driving somewhere. I would offer every time they woke up from a nap or I got them out of my ring sling. And they very quickly learned an offer is coming. Mama's gonna potty me. I do not have to go in my diaper. And both of them learned very quickly within days that that offer was coming. Y'all, there was a time I was driving back home from life group. We gather every Sunday with our life group from church. And I was driving home. It's about a 7-minute drive. And my son, my baby, this is my third baby we're talking about. He literally waited until we got home, waited until I got him out of the car seat, carried him from the car seat into the house, into the bathroom, took his diaper off, and held him over the sink. And he pees and poops immediately. He had been waiting for over an hour since I had fed him and did not poop when we were there, did not poop in the car, waited until I got him into the house, over the sink, in position, and cued him, and then he went. So you cannot tell me that babies can't hold it because I have watched it happen hundreds, if not thousands of times with my two children. And I hear many, many, many women report the exact same thing to me, that their babies can do it too. So does this only work with a newborn? No. I have actually recently heard a story of another woman in my community who wrote to me that she did not start until 7 months old with her daughter. And she did not even offer consistently. She was doing this very part-time, very loosey-goosey, and her daughter, within a month, was not pooping in her diaper anymore. She was waiting for the offer. There was enough offers, apparently, even at that time, even during this part-time, that her daughter knew, I don't have to poop in my diaper. I can wait until mama takes me. And she was pooping in her diaper consistently, and her mama did not have to change any poopy diapers within a month of starting this process. And then fast forward, at 18 months, she started potty training her conventionally, took the diapers away, cold turkey. Within 2 days, she was not having any accidents at all. So even doing this very part-time, very loosey-goosey, you can still have the benefit of your baby has been exposed to the potty. They know what to do. They prefer to do this over pooping or peeing in a diaper. And she had incredible results at 18 months potty training her daughter. Now she's completely out of diapers. She's even staying dry overnight. Do you have to do this full time consistently every time like I did with my babies? No, you can still have these kind of benefits just doing it part time. So what happened when doing it full time? Because that is how we did it. I do work full time. I did go back to work at 12 weeks postpartum. So I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I do not have, one child and all day to do this. And I even was taking care of my 3 babies solo during this third postpartum with my son. And I was still able to do this consistently. And by 10 weeks, so 10 weeks before I even went back to work at 12 weeks after this child was born, he was effectively potty trained. He was holding it and waiting for the offer almost every time. He hated to be wet, and he would always fuss before he would pee in his diaper to let me know what was about to happen. And he was even starting to ask for the potty. And I talk about this in my course, Born Ready, exactly what that looks like and how to help your baby learn how to do that, how to use sign language to teach them how to do that. And he learned how to ask for the potty and was doing that consistently. And it's so fascinating when you see a very young baby start to intentionally communicate about their potty needs. Because again, there is a common societal myth that babies just don't know anything. They don't know how to communicate. They're kind of this black box that we just don't understand. And the truth is, it does not matter that they don't speak English. It does not matter that they can't speak in complete sentences. Just like a baby is aware that they're hungry and they can communicate to you that they're hungry, and you see this in their increasing concern and eventual full-on wailing if you don't feed them. They know that they're hungry and they know that it's getting more and more urgent. And their potty needs are exactly the same, y'all. They can feel that they need to go and they can communicate that to you in body language, in facial expression, in sound, in their cry, the specific tone of their cry, the sharpness of their voice. You will learn to see this. And when you learn to really see this and really listen, it is incredible how much they are communicating. And when you realize how much they are communicating, so much deep connection is going to open up and become available for you and your baby. So now, not only at 10 weeks is my baby holding it and waiting for the potty, which, by the way, he's obviously aware that he needs to go. And he's been aware since birth because I was able to observe even that first week when he started to get fussy, he started to get agitated. His face turned from calm, peaceful to a grimace to starting to cry. So he has that awareness piece. He has this ability to communicate that he needs to go. And he is showing me that in his facial expression. He's showing me that in his cry tones. He's giving me a very direct look, raising his eyebrows, looking at me in a certain way, looking at me and then looking towards the potty. He's showing me in all of these very clear ways that, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. And he's able to hold it and wait for me to respond. This isn't happening in a split second. This isn't happening in, you know, 10 seconds, and it's happening so fast that there's just no time for me to do anything. No, he is clearly aware, clearly communicating, and able to wait as long as I'm responding and letting him know, hey, I see you. I see that you're asking. I'm going to take you to the potty right away. And he sees me acknowledging him and moving towards him and picking him up and taking him to the bathroom. Or we're driving in the car and I'm telling him, hey, I see that you need to go potty. We're going to go potty. As soon as we get there, we're going to go. And he trusts me to respond. And that is key, y'all, that your baby trusts you to respond. And when you do that, that is when you'll have effectively a potty trained baby. Are they able to get up and walk to the potty and pull their pants down and do it themselves at 10 weeks old? Of course not. They're still completely physically dependent on you. But once they have that awareness, the communication, and the ability to hold it and wait, you effectively have a potty trained baby. And that's not really the point. It's not about the success of potty training or checking that box, but those are fundamental skills that will serve them forever throughout their life. That being able to listen to their body, being able to communicate their needs, and of course, being able to hold it and wait, which is a fundamental skill required for full-on toddler potty training later. So this is what's possible when you start early on, or even when you start later. The model with the 7-month-old baby who ultimately was potty trained at 18 months, easily and quickly. When you start, all of this becomes available to you. So I just want to encourage you to take that first step. If you want to learn more about this, go ahead and download that free guide that's linked in the show notes. It is going to help you see what's possible, help you learn a little bit more so that you can start trying this offering tonight with your baby, no matter how old they are, from 0 to 12 months. I just want to encourage you to take that first step and try it, because when you do, you are going to discover what's possible, and that is going to change everything.
If you loved today's episode, would you take a moment to help me reach even more mamas with this message? Leave me a review or share this with a friend. You can help even more families discover what's possible. You can find education and support for every stage of your baby's potty learning journey at readyfrombirth.com. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at readyfrombirth.ec. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back every Monday with a brand new episode. See you next time. Bye for now.